Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, two historic rival kingdoms are being joined through the marriage of a king and queen. Now you'll be fairy nobility at one of the tables at the wedding, pitting various factions against one another to try and win favor with the newly married royals. Mischief is designed by the creator of a popular game, Arboretum, which I love and actually made my top 10 games of the year when it was released. Mischief is a strategy card game about fairy misbehavior. It's for 2 to 4 players, takes 30 minutes to play, is for ages 8 and up, and published by Dream Cult Game Studio. Now it's being crowdfunded right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works and I'll see you on the other side. This is a crowdfunding preview, so all the art and components you see here are not final. These are prototypes. To see the most up-to-date art and components, check the link in the description of this video. Now what we see here are 7 different tables set up at the wedding. Now you'll use a certain amount of tables depending on the amount of players. And each of these tables have 2 different factions. Like this one has dwarves and trolls, or elves and dryads. And so they're also known as sort of a light side and a dark side. And as you can see, the board has been seeded with some cards. There's a certain amount seeded depending on the amount of players as well. Now it is a card game, so every player is going to start with 13 random cards at the beginning of the game, and some cards are going to be burned, meaning not every card is used in every game, so you never have perfect information. Now there's 2 main times that you can score in the game. One of them is during the game, and each of these different tables can possibly be scored as you play. I'll show you how you do this in just a moment, but sometimes you'll be getting some friendship tokens for points, or sometimes you'll be getting some prank tokens for points. Now at the end of the game, you also might be able to score for each of these tables with the larger favor tokens or the smaller support tokens. We'll talk about how this works a little bit later. Now on your turn, you're simply going to play a card. Now each of these tables, as you can see, are a certain color. They have the 2 different factions and the light and dark side. So there are numbers that range from 1 to 5 for both the light side and the dark side. But remember, some cards are burned at the beginning of the game, so you never know exactly which cards are in play or not. Now when you play a card, you're going to play it where it belongs. For example, this is the purple one here, and it is the ogre. It's the dark side of that, so I'd play it on this side like this. Now, one of the things that can happen is it's a prank, and what that means is the number here equals the number on the other side. And when that happens, the card that was already there gets discarded. It goes off to a discard row off to the side, and then the player that played this gets this prank token. Now as you can see, this is worth 3 points. If I have this at the end of the game, it's 3 points. If it's here, I take it and place it in front of me. And if I have this at the end of the game, it's going to be worth 3 points. Now, if somebody else already had the token of that table color, instead of taking it from there, it would be in front of somebody else, I would take it from them. So this can move around depending on the timing of the pranks. Now let's say I already have this. If I'm able to play a prank on that same table, as I showed you before, then, and if I have this, I then flip it over, and not only is it locked, meaning no one else can steal it from me, but I get 5 points for it at the end of the game. Now, there is a way to protect a card. We saw how easy it was possibly to pull a prank and discard someone else's card there. Now, if we have this here, when we play a 2, you just basically rearrange it like this. Now what this means is that the 2 protects the next highest card, so the 2 protects the 3. Which means if I put a 4 here, it's going to be protected by the 3 as well. And right now the 2 is not protected because the 1 is not there. Now, since I did the protecting, that is known as friendship. And so I would take this friendship token because anytime you protect something, or you play a card that is now protected. So whether it's the protector or the protecting, when you do that, you take the friendship token of that side. It's the dark side here, so I would take this. And much like the other tokens, if this was not here, meaning someone else already had it, then I would take it from them. But let's say on my next turn, I play the 4. Now, the 4 is now protected by the 3. I caused more friendship, and I already had the token, so I would flip it like that, and it's locked, nobody else can steal from me, and now it's worth more points, it's worth 4. Now also, it doesn't matter what order the cards are played in. Like, let's say this one was played next, which is a 4, right? But then later on, someone else plays the 3. Well, it doesn't really matter when the 3 was played, you just put them in order like this, just to remind you that, oh, the 3 protects the 4. So, it doesn't matter the order of the cards, protection always works the same way. Now you notice that each of the tables has a card face down that's seated at the beginning of the game. Now anytime somebody plays a 1 or a 5 to that table, if the card is still there, it gets revealed and placed in the invitation row, which was set up to the side. Now there's always one card here at the beginning of the game. Now after you play a card, before it goes to the next player's turn, you can swap a card from here, the invitation row, with one in your hand. But when you create a new card with the invitation by playing a 1 or 5, and that card gets revealed, well, you're the first one that gets the crack at this because it's the end of your turn and you get to do this. So simply you play a card, possibly swap from the invitation row, then it's the next player's turn. So maybe I wanted this really bad, I would swap it out with something in my hand. Now, it's interesting to note that multiple things can happen even with just one play. For example, this card was seeded at the beginning of the game, which means that this card is still here because no one actually played this, that was seeded. Let's say this card was here. Now let's say I play this. Well, first of all, it's now protected because there was a 4, so I would take this token here. However, it also plays a prank because the 5 is over here and it's unprotected. So this would get discarded, and I would get this token, and because it was a 1 or a 5, this would get revealed, be placed in that invitation row, and then I could swap, and then it'd be the next player's turn. So you can have multiple things happen with just one play. Now this continues for 8 rounds, and at the end of the game, each player is going to have 5 cards left in their hand. Each player then secretly selects one of those and burns it, returns it without showing anybody, and you're going to have 4 cards left in your hand. We're going to go to final scoring and possibly get some of these tokens, but let's look at how these work. Then, once players have revealed the cards that are left in their hand, the 4 of them, you're going to go through each of these tables and score them individually. Now let's look at this first one. Here we have the light side, we add these up. So we have 7, 8, 9. And on the dark side, we have 8. So the light side is winning 9 to 8. Then we would look at everyone's cards that were revealed. Now normally you keep the cards in front of you because it's important to know who played what card, but let me just put them out here all together. So in this case, the light side added 6 more, the dark side added 4, so the light side will still win. In this case, the player who played the lowest of this endgame cards, because the light side was already winning, and that side still continued to win, there's a dance with the queen. And what that means is the one who played the lowest card is going to get the favor token. And so they would get this 6-point token. Whoever played the second lowest card, which in this case was the 5, they're going to get the support token, which is going to be 5 points. Now more notes on strategy here. Now you might need to play more than one card from a specific side, light or dark, in order to make sure that you win. But you're never going to win more than one of these endgame tokens from the same table. And the player that plays this didn't win anything because they weren't on the winning side. But let's say only one card was played, the 5 and the 4 here. Well, the light side was winning going into it. It's still winning because of what happened here. So this player played the lowest card of the winning side now for the dance. They're going to get the 6-point favor token. Nobody will get that support token. Another thing is, let's say the light side was leading by far going into this, and they still were winning after this. Anyone who plays a 3 on the side winning, it has a little toast icon, that just shows them that they get a toast. And that 3 points is a bonus, so they could take that 3 and put it over with their tokens. But you only get that bonus if you played the 3 of the leading faction going into this. However, let's say going into this, the dark side had 8, and the light side had 6. So now the dark side is the leading faction going into this. But let's say these were the cards that were revealed. And now the light side, if you add up these and everything else, actually is larger than the dark side even with this card. So that's known as a surprise. And when this happens, the player played the highest card of now the winning faction, gets this token, but it flips it over because it's a surprise, and they get 10 points. The second highest card gets this token, but they flip it over, and it's a 7. So it's more points if you surprise and overthrow what was going to happen, but it's the highest card that gets the bigger one. Now, interestingly enough, is when you the leading faction going in and you're able to keep that, it's the lowest card. So that is the trick of trying to figure out which cards to play at the end or which ones to keep for the end to play for some of these tokens. Also, sometimes you might need to hedge your bets and play on both sides to give yourself a better chance of winning. So that's all the strategy of which cards you keep at the end of the game and not play during the game for other things, like getting some of those in-game tokens to score. And lastly, the most powerful cards are the 1s and 5s, because if you stay in the lead, the lowest card gets you the higher token, so that's a 1. And if you cause a surprise at the end, the highest card played gets it. So those are going to help you in end-game scoring, but they're also the cards that allow you to, as you play it, you get the first crack at a new card coming out in that invitation row. So lots of different things pulling at your strategies. And you would score that the same way for all the rest of the tables. Then you're going to look at all the tokens of the points, and then some of the toast cards that you may have won as described earlier, and the one who has the most points is the winner. If it's a tie, whoever has the most colors among all your tokens wins, and if it's still tied, the one with the fewest tokens wins. Well, there you have Mischief, and as I showed in the overview, it fits Dream Cult Game Studios' focus of bringing unique, strategic, and elegant designs to the table. Now, the depth is found in the gameplay that was also found in the masterpiece Arboretum that this designer also made. Now, the cards used to score in the end that you need to hold back are also ones that would help set you up for endgame scoring best throughout the game, or to help get you different cards into your hand for more tactical options. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me in the description of this video, and I'm sure that Dream Cult Game Studios would love your support.